very much. God bless you. You got it. Thank you very much.
Hello viewers, right now I am in a conversation with Victor Antonio. He's world's leading sales trainer and author. And actually, I'm very pumped up to host him today because the kind of questions I have taken from the audience is very realistic, and it is about storytelling, sales, negotiation, communication, how all these areas can play a pivotal role in closing a deal. So, one of the best trainers we have on the show, Victor Antonio, sir. So, sir, tell me about your journey. That how did you started this journey, being a sales trainer or author?
So my journey, I'll try to give you the short version of my journey. So my family is originally from Puerto Rico, a small island in the Caribbean. They moved to the United States in the 1950s. And so, they spoke no English, very, very Spanish. And so my mother was always about go to school, get the education, get a great job. So we went to school. I got an electrical engineering degree and an MBA. And I started out as an engineer doing software development, then went into product test and component testing, and then went into application engineering, designing wireless systems, and then went into designing fiber optic networks and network management systems. And then I got an opportunity to sell. And I started selling in Latin America. They needed somebody who could speak Spanish and had a technical background. So I started, selling in Latin America, became very successful, did very well, moved up the corporate ladder on sales, became president of sales for a $420 million company. And then one day I decided to kind of, do my own thing. So in 2001, which makes this now about 24 years, going on 24 years, I decided to go on my own and just become an entrepreneur. So I've seen the corporate side, I've lived the entrepreneur life, and everything in between.
That's a wonderful journey. I mean, around 25 years you have been on this journey, right? So amazing.
Yes.
And sir, I have taken a few questions from the audience who really know you because of your YouTube channel.
Okay.
And audience, if you don't know him, then you can search Victor Antonio on YouTube. You will get thousands of sales videos which are full of practical insights. So you can follow him and actually subscribe his channel on YouTube and follow him on LinkedIn because he posts every day very practical insights in regard of sales and corporate culture. So, sir, the first question is, how can storytelling can be used to build trust and credibility in a sales
trust and storytelling be trust and credibility. The power of storytelling. I mean, everybody, I know a lot of great speakers. I know a lot of great trainers. I know a lot of great salespeople. The best of the best are always great storytellers. We know this already. But what is it about the story that makes it that impactful? And so I remember I created this very short version of creating a structure. I call it SPA, S-P-A. And you can start with a story. Now, guys, let me tell you a story. And I can tell you a story. And then I go to the P, I make a point. And then the A, and here's how it applies to you. And I've always kept that in mind when I'm telling a story about a product, service, or even my training. I said, let me tell you a story. Here's a company who was struggling with sales, right? I make the whole story. I tell them the story. Here's how they turn it around. Here's my point. They focused on this thing right here, and that's what changed everything, the application. Now, here's how it applies to you. And in that, when you do that, the story, the point, the application, it builds both, as you're asking about, trust and credibility, because I told you a story, which means there's some credibility there. Here's how it turned out, and hopefully that'll generate enough credibility. But when I turn it around and say, here's how it applies to you, the person goes, oh, you're thinking about me now. And just that simple structure, SPA, has always been a powerful method for actually putting together a presentation.
That's really a practical, structure you have made, SPA. Right? So, sir.
Very simple and powerful. And by the way, I should say that when you're doing a presentation, is you create these SPA almost like modules, right? Because you can tell a story about how product A worked, Here's the point. Here's how it applies to you. Conversation. And then somewhere later on, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to tell another story. Because again, people are very visual. The more visual you can make the story, the more contextual you can make a story. For example, if I just tell a story without putting visuals in it, it won't stick. But if I say things like, look, I took the chassis, right, the box, and I put it in the rack. And at that point, I had 4 plugs at the front. Now, when I looked at the 4 plugs, I realized that the one with the high-speed capacity was the one on the left. And the one in the low, and as soon as you do that, people go, okay, I'm with you. And so don't forget that to build that, it's not about credibility or trust. It's about recollection, retention. The more visual I can make it, the more likely you are to remember the story after I'm gone.
That's the really one of the advices on storytelling I have never heard of, and it is very practical because visualize it. The more you will make the story visualizing, it will be more recursive. Amazing.
Yeah.
So Antonio sir,
Yeah.
what mistakes should salesperson avoid when using a storytelling tool, you believe?
Sometimes they make the story about themselves, right? It's like when you ask me, tell me your background. The reason I go through it very quickly is because I don't want to talk about me. I want to talk about you. I want to get to, hear people who are watching this or listening to this are saying, why am I investing my time listening or watching this? And please make it worth my while, right? That's what they're thinking. What's in it for me? If I think I told you the story within 1 minute from my parents coming to the United States to me, becoming a sales trainer. I think I told that in 1 minute.
Right.
Why? Because I know how the brain works. The brain says, so what? What does it do for me? And the sooner we get to content, how it applies to you, and I focus on you, how I can help you, then people go, okay, he's trying to help me. And once people know you're trying to help them, that law of reciprocity kicks in. They feel this reciprocal bond because you're trying to help them and you care about them. And so one of the mistakes people make, I've seen this a lot, is that they get up there and they start talking about themselves and their journey, and they take too long. And again, it's finding the right moments to kind of say, this is enough of the story. They get the point. Let's move on to how it applies to them. So make sure that when you're telling a story, keep it short. I know a lot of speakers, for example, and I'm talking about now doing speeches, who spend, 5, 10, 15 minutes talking about their life journey. Now, here's the thing. If I have something very specific and I have an audience who lines up specifically with what I'm talking about, I could do it for 15 minutes and they'll connect because they go, I get it. Yes, I live that. But when you got a crowd, a very diverse crowd, everybody has different experiences. If you spend too much time on your life experience, maybe only 1 or 2 people can resonate with the whole story. Right. And you begin to lose people. So 1, keep the story short and about them. And the important part about keeping it short is you want to get to their problems, not yours.
That's really cool. And actually, when I asked you about your journey, you just described it in less than a minute. And people actually feel that what's in it for me. So they're not interested in how you became successful. It's about what the real thing I'm getting from the video, right? Of actually what the value I'm getting, right? That's a perfect thing.
See, what I hope is that when someone watches or listens to this, even though they only give them, let's say, a minute of my story, my goal, my job as a sales speaker, as a trainer, let's say as a speaker in general, is I got to give you so much information that you go, who is this guy? I have to make it so compelling. You go, who is this guy? Let me go look him up. So I don't have to promote myself. I don't have to say, yeah, my name is Victor Antonio. You can go to my website at victorantonio.com. I don't have to do that. My job is to make it so compelling that you want to go find me online. That's the key all the time.
Right. And actually, Victor Antonio, sir, I just want to ask you that I have seen your videos of public speaking. So how do you suggest speakers who are actually very, very young, or actually they are aspiring speaker, to face people's crowd? That actually how to confront a public fear whenever they get thousands of people in actual front of them.
Here's the best advice I can give anybody. This is like if you ask me, you wake me out of a dead sleep and say, what's the one piece of advice you would give anybody to be successful? And that is, you have to learn how to communicate. You have to learn how to speak. You can't get around that. And the better you can do it, and anybody, I want people to go on YouTube, type Victor Antonio first Toastmaster speech. I was horrible. I wasn't good, right? And even I couldn't look at my own video because it was like, oh God, I'm so horrible. Because we all do that, right? We're like, oh my God, I can't look at myself. I can't listen to myself. Right. And so one of the practical tips I would give you is join Toastmasters. They're global, so I know they're in your area. Toastmasters is a speaking organization. And here's how it works. You join the organization, and then they're going to give you 10 speeches that you have to complete over whatever you decide the time frame is. It'll be over a year, 2 years. Each speech, by the way, each speech is only 5 to 7 minutes long, but each speech aims to help you with a certain aspect of speaking. So, for example, the very first speech is probably the easiest one, is the icebreaker, where you talk about yourself for 5 to 7 minutes. Then what happens is people give you feedback. Here's what you did right. Here's what you did wrong. Here's what you can improve on. The second speech, I think, is called Being in Earnest. Talk about something you're passionate about. And again, 5 to 7 minutes. And there's 10 of these. The third one is like how to. So you have to come up with a how-to speech, right? Now, here's what's powerful. 2 things, 2 big things here. So first of all, anyway, just side note, join Toastmasters. I'm telling you, it's the best investment you can make. 1, you're creating 5 to 7 minute speeches and you're getting feedback. And with every speech you do, you get better. Number 2, if you look at a speech, my speeches, they're basically 5 to 7 minute stories tied together. So when I develop a speech, a keynote, I develop 5 to 7 minute mini speeches that have a single thread, a commonality, right? And then I just string the stories together. So I have a playbook, my own playbook. I have about, I think, 170 5 to 7 minute modules that I've developed. So it's a playbook. So it's basically 170 plus stories, right? When someone says, hey, Victor, we'd like you to speak on this topic, motivation, I look at my playbook and I said, okay, based on what they've told me, I'll take this story, I'll take that story, and I put 5 or 6 of them together and I have a speech. That's what's powerful. Once you develop these 5 to 7 minute modules, first of all, you learn how to deliver 5 to 7 minutes and do it well. And then you create a bunch of 5 to 7 minute modules and you put those together any way you want, like a puzzle, like a little Lego system, and you can build speeches immediately.
That's an amazing thing you have shared about how to face public fear. And actually,
By the way, can I give you one on the public fear thing?
Yeah, sure.
Be very specific. Everybody starts off as a horrible speaker, and some people are just a little better than others. The thing is, nobody's ever died from public speaking, right? And even if you're afraid of public speaking, just keep in mind, it's a conversation. I think as soon as you get it in your head, and by the way, the first, 5 or 10 times, you're nervous, your palms are sweating, you're worried about what other people think, you worry about how you look. Get over that hump. I am telling you, if you can just get pushed past that, on the other side is you're going to have a better career and better interactions with people when you can communicate more effectively.
And sir, what would you advise for communication? That actually, are there any principles, or actually there are 2 3 things which are very crucial to actually master upon for a better communication for leadership, sales, marketing, any field of professionals, right?
There is something subtle about speaking. This is the thing I think a lot of people don't understand. If you don't know your material, if you don't know your content, you're always going to be afraid and you're never going to have the confidence when you get in front of somebody. I can take the shyest person, find me the biggest introvert you have. I'll ask that person a bunch of questions and then I'll find something. Let's say gaming, right? Introvert, always inside gaming. And then I'll say, well, tell me about gaming. Well, tell me about this game. Tell me about, Red Dead Redemption. Tell me about Fortnite. And then all of a sudden they start what? Talking, right? Okay. And then you've had this experience. I'm sure they won't shut up, right? Because they're talking, right? And all of a sudden, the person who seemed shy, an introvert, really wasn't. The thing is, once you get them to talk about what they want to talk about, it's easy. So one is talk about what you want to talk about. And if you can't do that, let's say you're selling a product. When you know your product so well, you don't even have to think about it. Okay? Now, let's walk through this because I think when people understand the power of value that you deliver, they'll want to do it. Would you agree that all of us are naturally inclined to want to help others, right? We all want to do that. We all want to help somebody else. It's just human nature. I don't care what part of the world you're at. You always want to help somebody. So I always ask people in sales specifically, if you have a product, right? And I ask them, tell me about the product. And they'll tell me the feature, benefit, advantage of the product. I said, now, tell me how it helps your customer. And sometimes they stumble a little bit. Well, it helps them become more efficient. I said, yeah, but dig deeper. What else does it do? And they're like, what do you mean, what else does it do? I said, and I'll give you the short version here. I said, it helps them become more efficient, more profitable, which means the company grows. The company grows, they can hire more people. They hire more people, they're employing people, right? These people have families. So the fact that you're helping a company with your product or service to help them grow the business means they can employ more people, which means they can feed their families, so to speak, and they can grow the market. You're creating real value. So you're not just selling a product, you're helping a company grow. And do you see when you have that shift in perspective, all of a sudden you sell with more passion because it's just not a product. I'm trying to help people. I sell sales training. People go, what do you sell? Sales training. I said, no, I sell company success because what happens is once they learn how to sell, they become more profitable and the story goes on. That's what I sell. The end value is I help families send their kids to college. That's what I do at sales training. And then people are like, but that's the value I give my product. Imagine if everybody did that.
Actually, you have been talking very practical stuff so far, because the kind of thing you have shared that basically we are not selling product, we are selling emotions, right? And sir,
yeah, I'm always careful with that because there's an emotional component and a logical component, right? There's two components, right? And so the logical component is, and to your point, the logical component is, here's how this product could help you. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? The emotional component is, yes, I get excited, but I'm going to phrase the emotional component just a little different. I want to believe what you're telling me.
Right.
I want to believe what you're telling me is true because I'm looking at several different products, right? And I'm listening to you. And what I want from you is for you to give me the confidence that I'm making the right decision. That's the emotional piece I'm looking for. Because logically, everything you said makes sense, but I'm scared. I'm scared to buy. I'm scared to pull the trigger, right? I don't know. Maybe I should just hold off. What I want from you as a salesperson or as a speaker in general, give me the confidence that this is the right decision. So if I say to you, look, based on what you've told me, based on what I've seen, based on what I've worked with other companies, what I've seen the results, I'm telling you, this is what you need to do. And the person goes, oh, shit, this is what I need to do, right? And so the logical part is, here's what it can do. The emotional piece is, I'll call it the transference of confidence. Because what they want from you is for you to give them the confidence that this is the right decision. And if you're not confident because you don't understand the value of what you're selling,
right,
then all of a sudden you lose the deal right there.
And sir, you know about Shark Tank, right? You actually must be knowing Shark Tank, right?
Say that again.
Shark Tank, right?
Yeah.
A business show, right? So in India, it has also been started for 2-3 years, and there are two seasons. A lot of businessmen, entrepreneur actually pitch their product to the sharks. So how would you advise that entrepreneurs who actually go to Shark Tank and who really need funds, that actually how to start a pitch, right?
Sure. By the way, you begin a pitch by understanding what's in it for them. It's a basic principle. Okay, so now I'm pitching. Let's say you're pitching a product to me, right? Now, I'm one of the sharks, right? What am I thinking right now? I'm a shark. I'm going, all right, let me look at the product. Is it a viable product? Can I sell it in the market? And if I can sell it, how much can I get in return? If I decide to invest in this, what's the percentage of the company I can get? What percentage am I going to negotiate for? And how fast will I get my money back? And then that's all logical right there, right? Okay, in other words, because they're thinking, is it a good idea? Is it a market fit? Is there enough available market for them to be successful? This is all the logical stuff, right? What would be your margins, right? Okay, you start calculating margins. What have you sold over the last year or two? Okay, give us some numbers there. How do you know this is going to sell? Logical stuff. And then the emotional piece is two parts, getting back to what you said earlier. One is, do I even like this person? And how do I determine if I like you? I determine if I like you, one, by how you look and how you react from a physical standpoint. Now, people don't understand that we do judge people like that immediately by how they look, but not so much look. I'm not just talking about, your look in general or how you dress. It's your body language. When you're presenting, are you like this? Oh, yeah, this is a really good product. You know what I mean? Or are you like, let me tell you, this is a great product. Right. So they're looking at body language. There's a visual component. The second component is, how you say it. If you ask me a question, when do you think you'll break even with this product? In other words, at least get back to zero till I get my money back. You say, it could be like, we 6 months. You hear that, you're like, you're not believing that. But if you go 6 months, easy. There's a difference, right? 6 months, easy. Here's how. And all of a sudden, it's a different conversation. Do you see the difference? And what they found is that the last thing people pay attention to is the actual content of what you said. So they're really judging your visual, body language, the whole thing, but how you say things, confidence, the inflection. If I ask you a question and you hesitate, like, yeah, just that, yeah, makes me doubt that you're telling me the truth or you know what you're talking about. And this comes back to what I said earlier. What do I want from you? I want you've proven the business case already, but I need you to give me the confidence that this is a good idea. And if I hear you hesitating, that's not good. So the advice there is, if you're going to pitch a Shark Tank, one, know what all the questions are going to be. Two, every pushback you get, anticipate the objections and know how to answer them, but answer them with confidence. Don't guess. And by the way, I should just throw in, never guess or lie. If you don't know, say you don't know. It's that simple.
And sir, you have actually mentioned very practical thing that fillers can really destroy their their dreams. That actually using filler words. Oh. So how do you advise people, entrepreneurs to confront fillers and actually to work upon their body language, right?
Yeah, it's all. I mean, let's go through the basics of what you can do. You can record yourself, right, on audio. That's everybody. By the way, if you're listening to this, it goes, I hate recording myself on audio. Yeah, well, welcome to the club. Everybody hates it. I hate recording myself on video. Congratulations, you're part of the human race. Everybody hates watching themselves on video, right? So you have to kind of mentally get over that. Let me tell you what's more important: you succeeding or you getting on video and being scared. If you really believe in your product, you'll figure out how to pitch it. So record yourself. But here's what I would say: is when I started in sales, I knew that customers were going to ask tough questions because these were technical products we were selling.
Right.
And so I would literally sit with the product managers, the people who developed the product, and I would ask them, okay, tell me, what are they going to ask me? They're going to ask you all these questions, Victor, about the product. And here's some of the trick questions they're going to ask you. And I would sit there and I would role play with them. And they go, no, don't say that. They would say like stuff like, no, you don't want to say that. I was like, okay, let me change the word. What if I said it like this? No, don't say it like that. How would you want me to say it? Say it like this, say it like this. This is how you respond. And working with the product managers, what began to happen is I knew how to answer the questions. Now, let's go to the meeting. When the questions came up, there was no hesitation because I knew how to answer the question. We get back to, you got to give them the confidence, right? And because I had the answer, I understood that from a product management standpoint, I understood the products. So all of a sudden, it became a very different presentation because I knew the product. And I think that's what a lot of people miss today. And by the way, when you know the product, a lot of these filler words go away because you're so excited to tell the story.
Right.
There are no filler words. It's when you're thinking and hesitating. Well, okay, so let me see how I want to answer that. Now, if I'm passionate about the product, I say, look, here's how it works. And people are like, okay. And then you start describing it, and there's no time for fillers. But people also feel as you say, the emotional aspect, your enthusiasm. Because people feel enthusiasm. I mean, how many times have you met somebody for the first time, and within, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, you go, I don't like this individual. Did it ever happen to you? You meet somebody, go, I don't like you, right? And there's something at a subconscious level, you picked up something that said, I don't like this individual. So anyway, so to get rid of the filler words, again, I think if you're passionate about your product, you understand your product, then there's no hesitation. People who use a lot of fillers don't know their product. They don't know what to say. They haven't thought it through. And I think that's where the filler words come in. So they're kind of going, well, okay, so one of the things I would do is when I first started, and they haven't rehearsed the story. What a lot of people don't see, they see my keynotes and they're like, oh my God, it's a great keynote. What they don't see is when I walk around my house talking to myself, like literally talking to myself. My wife just ignores me, right? She knows what I do. Because I walk around the house and I'm even trying to practice the gesture. Like I practice all gestures. So for example, I'm walking up the stairs. All right, what should I use this gesture? No, let's just use this, a casual stroll. Okay, we'll use that gesture. Okay, and I'm telling myself the story. All right, and he walks down the hallway and he walks up the stairs, right? And all these things I rehearse before I get on stage. So when I get on stage, it's very natural.
Sir, you have said a very practical stuff here. It is actually clarity. We must have clarity because without clarity, fillers will definitely gonna take place, right? So we must be crystal clear about our own products, right? And the message we are exactly want to convey to the pitchers, actually the sharks, right? So, sir,
correct.
What's one habit you think that every salesman should actually adopt in themselves? What's the one habit you suggest?
This is the one I tell people. I think it has long term. I'm trying to be practical here, as you say, so everybody can have real walk away strategies. I remind people there's 1,440 minutes in a day, 1,440 minutes in a day, right? And so put that aside. Put that aside for now. Now, I was reading the book Atomic Habits by James Clear,
Right.
and a few years ago. Great book, by the way.
Great.
And in there, he talked about the 1% rule. He didn't come up with it, but he highlighted it in the book. And he said, if you were to improve 1% every day, within 70 days, I believe, you'll be 2x better. Within 232 days, you'll be 10x better. At the end of the year, 365 days, you'll be 37x better. And I thought that was interesting. But then I asked myself the question, well, what does 1% improvement a day mean? What does that mean? Right? And then I said, well, wait a minute. 1% of 1,440 minutes, 1,440 minutes is 14.4 minutes a day. So let's round up and call it 15. So if you can improve, if you can just focus on whatever it is you want to get good at, 15 minutes a day, at the end of 70 days, you'll be 2x better. At the end of 232 days, you'll be 10x better. At the end of the year, you'll be 37x better. That is the most practical advice I can give you. I basically spend, I'm going to say somewhere between half hour to an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours a day, either reading or watching a keynote on a topic. And so I invest that amount every day. And people are always saying, well, Victor, you seem to know a lot. I go, no, it's not that I know a lot. It's just that every day I'm improving 1%. And that 1% compounds over time. And I think that's the power that people don't understand. It doesn't happen overnight. But I'm telling you right now, if you start today, you focused on one thing, or at the beginning of the year, you focus on one thing, and you dedicate 15 minutes a day, at the end of the year, you will see a big difference, not only in your knowledge, but in your ability to deliver that knowledge.
That's really perfect, sir. And actually, a couple of days back, I have bought this book called, the kind of book you have suggested, Atomic Habits, and I'm also going to read that book. And the stuff you have shared is 1% of 1,000 days, of actually 1,000 hours, is gonna compound to 10x better in just 70 days. So that's a very practical formula, right? And actually,
so remember, let's be clear. It's 1,440 minutes a day, right? 1% is 14.4 minutes, which is 15. And then in 70 days, you'll be 2x. 230 days, 32 days, you'll be 10x. At the end of the year, you'll be 37. It's an exponential curve is what it is.
Exponential. So sir, as we are approaching to the end of podcast, the last thing people really need to know is, what is the most valuable lesson you have learned from someone you have coached over the years, right?
A revelation. That's a good question. Like an insight, revelation.
Yeah.
On coaching, I think I've had what I call a disappointing revelation. And that is this when it comes to coaching, which is why I don't do coaching anymore. Because I don't get a lot of satisfaction out of coaching. Here's why. I'm being very transparent. Too many people ask me and want to even pay me, right, for advice. Here's the problem. They don't do it. They don't act on it. And what I found is that I don't want to get paid anymore from people. So when someone approaches me, I said, I'll tell you what, instead of you paying me, why don't I give you free advice? And so here's what I typically do. For example, I get a lot of people who are speakers, want to be speakers, right? And I used to spend a lot of time, okay, here's what you got to do. Here's how you can become a great speaker. And I'd walk through the whole blueprint, right? And 99 out of 100, maybe more, if that's possible, 99.5, don't do anything. So I just wasted an hour with you, 2 hours with you. Now, in some cases, they paid me. I'll take the money, but I don't feel good because they didn't execute. So I feel like I didn't cheat them because I gave them the value. So I don't feel bad, but I don't find satisfaction in that. So what I've done, and I use that speaking example, when someone comes to me and says, Victor, I want to be a speaker just like you. Can you walk me through the process? I said, why don't I just do this first? Why don't I tell you the first step? You go take the first step. And when you're done with the first step, you come back and see me and I'll give you the next step, right? And the first step is always, I need you to join Toastmasters, right? I need you to complete the 10 speeches because they give you what they call, I think it's CTM, which is a certified Toastmasters certificate. I said, come back when you have that certificate, and I'll tell you what the next step is. In all my years, like I'm going to say in my, since 2001, let's call it 24 years now.
2 decades.
Only 2 people in the many I've talked to. So I think that's my automatic, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Only 2 people basically have taken my advice and have come back and said, okay, what's next? And both these people are successful speakers today, making a lot of money. And so my biggest disappointment is that, and I'll tell this to people who ask for advice. If you're going to ask for advice from somebody who's successful, really listen to what they're saying and at least take one thing and execute and demonstrate that you're doing something that they told you to. Because nothing is so disappointing as for me to give you all this content, information, and you do nothing with it. But if you come back and says, look, I tried this, this didn't work, but this is, then I can go, okay, well, let's analyze why it didn't work for you. And then now that makes me feel good. So that's why I don't do coaching anymore. I do what I call free advice. And I send people off, do this first, do that second. By the way, the second step in the process when they come back is I said, all right, now, I said, build me a 5 to 7 minute speech, right? On a specific topic that you want to talk about. Let's say you want to be in sales, and then send me the video and let me look at your video. And again, only 2 people did that. And so I don't know if that's good advice, but there it is, man.
Actually, because the kind of advices you actually, convey them are very practical. So only 2 people did that. It's actually very, interesting.
In 24 years, my friend, in 24 years, only 2 people. And there's one young guy, his name is Ovidilio Vasquez. He from day one, he was just like, he just would not stop. Once he completed something, he was back again. Okay, what next? What next? What next? And today, when I say he's successful, he's probably more successful than 80, 90% of the speakers in the US. That's where he's at right now. But he was just constant, okay, what next? What next? I'm like, oh, this guy won't go away. And I thought, but everything I told him, do this, do this, do this. He did it, executed. And again, living a great life right now.
Right. So thank you so much. And, Victor, sir, for being on the podcast. And it is a very insightful podcast with you. A lot of people's going to hear. And actually, the kind of values you have shared, I'm very grateful to you. Thank you, sir, for being on the show.
Thank you for having me on the podcast. Hopefully somebody benefits from this. And I don't know. One day I might be in your country. How's that? Giving a speech. Who knows?
But it is going to be very, very valuable podcast for anyone who is listening to us. Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome.
Take care.
All right. Take care. Have a good day. Okay.
All right. So have a good day too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.